Hello everybody, happy Friday. Welcome to today's session of Turn Your Body Woes into Wins, where today I am going to be telling you a very special story about one of my current clients who every single day was struggling with urgent diarrhea multiple times a day, every single day for over a year with no answers. She has worked with multiple specialists who have run countless different labs with her with no answers, with them telling her that they weren't able to make connections between what her lab values were showing her and the symptoms that she was experiencing. And within the past 6 to 8 months, she has gone from struggling with that every single day to not having symptoms at all, finally. And the coolest part about that is not only have I been able to help see her and guide her every single day through this process, but we were also able to use a functional lab test called the GI MAP, which is a DNA stool test or stool collection kit that assesses your stool and large intestine for ultimately potential bacterial imbalances, whether we're dealing with an infectious pathogen or perhaps there are imbalances in our normal gut flora, like our typical resident bacterial strains that you'll see, if there's imbalances that are causing issues there, along with some other markers that can tell us whether we are potentially having some type of an immune reaction, if there's any gluten sensitivity, if there's an H. pylori infection, which is actually super, super common without people realizing it. In fact, there's like some suggestion too that H. pylori could even be related to sexually transmitted diseases, which is wild because they're that easily shared back and forth between hosts, between people, as well as if there is any risk for irritable bowel disease, which is different than IBS. IBD is actually a clinical diagnosis of a specific disease presence, whereas IBS is more or less a collection of different symptoms that many of us experience pretty frequently. Overall, this test is so amazing because it can really help us dial in exactly what we are doing nutritionally, like therapeutically through nutrition and supplementation, to help take you from, I really want to say, point B to point C. Because when you come in to work with me in my VIP program, the first stages are investigation and also the integration phase. So the investigation phase really involves me doing the deep dive work, getting to know you and your case, looking at your symptoms, looking at your past history. A lot of times there's triggering events that could actually release all of a sudden, that was the point in your life where you're like, holy shit, that changed everything. This moment changed everything and caused a cascade of different things to happen in your life to lead you to this point. I'm also looking at lab values or functional lab values that perhaps maybe you've had done in the past. And I'm looking at the picture 100% from a bird's eye view to start putting the pieces together. And during the investigative and integration phase, I'm creating a protocol that I think is going to help me take that dart and throw the dart at the dartboard, hitting as close to the bullseye as I possibly can. And what I mean by that is I'm using my education, I'm using my clinical experience, and I'm using my experience with clients, interfacing with clients and helping clients heal, to help create a plan that I believe is going to be the biggest bang for their buck. It's going to be addressing the lowest hanging fruit. It's going to be able to allow us to do what the easiest possible, most accessible thing is first, in order for you to start feeling better as soon as possible. Because let's be honest, investing in your health, healing your body, especially if you're dealing with a gut or hormone imbalance. And by the way, if you're not sure or you're suspicious as to whether you are dealing with a gut or hormone imbalance, you can actually just DM me quiz, and I will send you the link to my free 3-minute quiz that can actually help answer that question for you. And then it will send your results and some next steps for you to start taking towards your own healing today. Just go ahead. You can either comment below or DM that to me, and I'll send that to you right away so that you can have that. But if you are dealing with a gut or a hormone imbalance or some other health challenge, or dealing with symptoms, you're not really sure what they are. I like to call these mystery symptoms or a mystery illness. Like, they really don't. Got a call during that, so I might have skipped. So I'm just going to repeat really quick. Maybe you're dealing with a set of symptoms that you're not really sure like what they are. I like to call these mystery symptoms. There is going to be things that we can do very easily in order for you to start noticing improvements in your symptoms right away. It's going to take time and dedication and a full energetic investment in healing your body to actually start feeling better. It's going to require you to go through transformative phases where you're, swapping out habits and behaviors that maybe have been a part of your life forever, since you can remember. It's going to require you shifting thoughts and beliefs about yourself and food and your body and the relationship between all of that. It's going to require you to shift those beliefs in order for you to make a full 100% recovery or to completely transform your body, no matter what it is that you are trying to do. If you're not happy with how you're looking right now, or the way that you're feeling, or you're dealing with symptoms, or a thing like maybe you even have an official diagnosis and you're not really sure how to handle that or how to move forward past that, it's going to take you time. So my goal is for you to, within the first month of us working together, typically my clients are telling me within the first 2 weeks they're noticing something, so that you can have a little piece, a little taste of what that feels like. Because at this point, we're all millennials for the most part. I know most of you guys are millennials, and we have been around since like the dawn of Facebook and Instagram. And we have kind of been through this like shit show where we've all fallen for like the Instagram coach or bodybuilding coach or the macro coach or like a cookie cutter program that a person has sold to like hundreds and thousands of people that are not tailored to you, that were super restrictive and all the things. Like, we have been through the bullshit and we don't have patience for that anymore. Like, we are holding ourselves to a higher standard. We still want the help, but we're going to be a little bit more meticulous about who it is and who we are trusting to actually guide us. We want to make sure that we're actually working with an expert, because I know that I have personally fallen victim to this as well. My very first coach that I worked with was somebody from out in California who I was following, and I was so naive. I knew nothing about nutrition. I just saw the results that this person supposedly was helping other women achieve, and I wanted the same thing. And it was the worst money. I think it was like one of the worst investments I've ever made. Thank God it was only, $300, but at the time that was kind of like a big investment for me back then when I was, 22 years old. I was spending $300 on a coach to help me, lose weight so that I could step on stage as a bikini competitor. I was really excited, and, I literally did not last on this program for 2 weeks because, as you guys already know, they're typically not very sustainable plans. So when you're joining my VIP program, because I know, this is not only a massive energetic investment for you, but it's also a financial investment for you as well. And so that's another reason why I'm literally giving you guys this GI MAP test. The next woman who signs up for my 6-month VIP program is getting this GI MAP kit mailed to her for free. And in addition to that, and this is a $400 test that's not covered by insurance. At least it's not likely to. I'm not saying it's not covered by insurance, and it's not covered by most insurances. And so not only are you going to get that test for free, But you're also going to get a month of free coaching with me when you join my 6-month container, because when you commit to me for 6 months, you're getting an extra month for free as a thank you for investing in yourself and making sure that you are going to be fully and 100% supported. So not only are you getting all of that, but these results are going to come back. I'm going to create a protocol right at the beginning that I know is going to help start easing you into the process, but you're also going to get protocol updates that are customized and personalized to you based on the results that we get back from this test. And then I'm going to hold your hand and guide you the whole way through. And I want to talk to you guys about a client that literally this test changed everything for her. She came to me in January wanting to improve her body shape and lose weight for her wedding that is in June of 2024. However, through my investigation phase, I quickly discovered that she was really struggling with diarrhea multiple times a day, every single day. And she had been struggling with this for so long that it wasn't even like a common complaint. In my intake form, I asked, I want to know, like, what are you doing here? Like, what do you need support with? And I don't even think that the diarrhea or the digestive issues that she was having were a concern of hers, because one, it was so normal for her to be dealing with this that it was just like normal, standard, everyday practice for her. But she also didn't realize that this container could be the space in which she could actually heal from those symptoms, from that experience every day. And so when she came in, I'm very conservative with my testing because, of course, like GI MAP is almost $400. It's also like, it's a kit that you're doing for yourself at home. Like, I'll open this thing up for you so that you can see what's in it. Like, it's like a whole freaking science kit in here. Like, you've got like the collection, the biohazard bag, you've got the glove, you've got the little test tubey thing here. I mean, there's like this like French fry looking container, like, when you go to like Nathan's and you get a hot dog and a French fry. You got this thing in it. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a whole kit. This can be it's very, very easy. And when you sign up, I will tell you how to do it too. I'm actually doing my own first one, my very first one this weekend. I'm really excited to do it. Because realistically, when I was diagnosed with SIBO 10 years ago, I wish that I existed. And I know that people like me did exist back then, but I had no idea. I was where you guys were at. I had no idea that like there was these like nutritionists that existed that actually like had the time to spend with me, because doctors did not. It's why, I had a nutritionist was ultimately who was able to tell me that I had SIBO and was able to point me in the right direction. But she was also a doctor, and so she didn't have the time or the resources to spend with me to actually guide me through a real gut health protocol that would help me heal. And so she was able to point me in the right direction, but she wasn't able to guide me through the way that I guide women now. Because you're checking in with me every single week to make sure that things are going well. You're happy, you're noticing improvements in your symptoms if we're also working in weight loss and, body composition improvement, if that's part of our process. Like, I want to know that you're noticing results, that you're feeling better, that you're looking better, all of the things every single week. Then every day you can reach out to me whenever you need. And I'm not a helicopter coach. I'm not like checking in on you to make sure that you're following everything to a T, but it is an open door policy where you can essentially virtually step into my office and ask me a question or get support whenever you need it. And then every single month you're popping in on a call with me via Zoom to have that face-to-face call so that we can have that personalized support weaved in as well. Okay? I wish that I had this same support, and I wish that I knew that this test existed 10 years ago, because this probably would have solved my problem and helped me alongside the help of a functional nutritionist like me now to actually heal so much faster. It took me like 4.5 years to actually guide myself through my protocol, which was full of like trials and tribulations. I fucked so many things up during that time because It was literally, I was going to heal myself or I was going to die trying. That's how terrible I felt. And so I was willing to do and try anything. And I didn't really have any support. I didn't have a coach. I didn't have anybody who knew what I was going through actually guide me through. And so had I had access to this, it wouldn't have taken me 4.5 years to heal my body. It would have taken a fraction of the time. But anyway, so when this client came to me, I knew that there were things that I could immediately do to help her clean up what she was already eating and how she was living her life, and some healthy habits and behaviors that she could start weaving in. And so when you're going through the integration phase of the Mercurio method, you're learning how to layer in these new habits. You're learning how to layer in these new foods. You're learning how to adjust your eating habits and to meal prep and to get more comfortable in the kitchen, and to, if we're tracking macros, how to track that food and how to build whole, nutritious, comprehensive, calorically and nutrient adequate meals. You're learning how to make sure that you're focusing on fiber and protein and all of the things. You're learning how to do that. And it's my hope that at the end of that integration phase, between integration and our refinement and healing phase, where you've got that unlock, it's become normal practice for you, we can start tweaking and refining things to take you from that integration phase and really fully immerse you into healing and moving through the protocol. Except for this client, her symptoms only came so far. With nutrition and supplementation and lifestyle adjustments alone, we were able to significantly reduce the amount of times that she visited the bathroom from every single day, multiple times a day, to only once a day, and sometimes none at all. In fact, by May, this client had weeks of time where she actually didn't have diarrhea. And we were able to really pinpoint what was triggering it. We figured out that she was very sensitive to high histamine foods and meals. And you may have been told this too, especially if you experience any respiratory symptoms, or if you get hives or rashes very easily. Maybe you feel like you've lost your breath, you can't catch your breath, you feel like your heart is racing. Maybe you feel nauseous. Also, running to the bathroom with diarrhea is also a histamine response. You may have been told that you're sensitive to histamine and to follow a low histamine diet. Well, I want you to know too that this is not the root cause of your problem. If you're having a response to histamine, then there's a reason why your body is responding to that, and why those symptoms are surfacing, and you're starting to notice those symptoms more and more frequently. We have to understand what's actually going on underneath the surface as to why you're having that kind of a reaction. So we actually figured out that that's what was happening to her. She was very sensitive to high histamine containing foods. There are foods that contain more histamine than others, or that can trigger that reaction more easily than other foods. And also a very cardinal sign is when you're eating food that's not fresh. So if she ever ate leftovers, so her fiance is the chef in the home, and so he will make them dinner every night. She gets a home cooked meal, lucky lady, and the next day she has leftovers to take with her to work. And if she has those leftovers, she finds that within the hour she's running to the bathroom with painful, urgent, watery diarrhea. Interestingly enough, the days that she did not have those leftovers, the diarrhea did not happen. So we ended up starting to have to freeze her leftovers so that she could actually lower or reduce the amount of histamine that food ended up forming overnight as it was sitting in her fridge, because that's how that kind of works. We can go into that another time if you have questions about that. So we were really able to figure that out. We were able to pinpoint it. But it's okay, now that we know that what that is, we can actually, do kind of an elimination style diet in order to minimize this. But again, understanding that the histamine reaction, the reaction to those foods, if you are having food sensitivities and you feel like you have a never ending list of foods that are triggering your symptoms, the problem is not the food. The problem is that there is something going on underneath the surface. And so I knew the histamine response that's not the end all be all. Oh, you just have to avoid histamine foods and freeze your leftovers for the rest of your life. No. I mean, it would even happen if she ate food that wasn't fresh at a restaurant. Interesting fun fact. She used to joke about it, calling her superpower. So we know that that's not the root cause. We need to do further investigation. At this point, knowing that we came to this point of her symptoms, there were supplements that I could have thrown at her. But again, knowing that lab testing and supplementation costs money, and it's also another thing that you have to add in, especially with supplements that require you to be on a schedule. I love supplements when we can use them strategically and conservatively, but I also don't want a client to be walking around with, a stack of 10 different things that they have to worry about what they're taking. And so I don't want to just throw supplements at a person without actually, again, knowing the viability, like, why am I recommending this supplement? Why am I recommending this lab test? Am I doing it? Do I have nutritional justification to do this? And if so, what is it? And how does this test or the supplement validify that? Okay, so I didn't want to do that. There were supplements that I could have done. I could have tested some probiotics on her, but then fun fact, like, there are some histamine producing bacteria and probiotics and all the things. And so again, we're not really understanding where this is coming from. And so that histamine response can be due to an infection. It can be a combination of things like hormone imbalance. It could be a tremendous amount of stress. Usually it could be a bunch of different things all at once. I really wanted to run this GI map with this client in May. And unfortunately, because of the price of the test, it wasn't accessible for her at this time. This is almost a $400 test. Again, such a big deal that I'm literally giving this away to you for free. All right. So she declined the test at that time, and we decided to go a different path. I did decide to try and run a antimicrobial protocol for her. We had some labs come back that we thought were aligned with an infection, which isn't necessarily untrue. But again, another really important reason why we always want to test and not guess, because had we had this test back then, we would have been able to, we kind of got thrown off. We had to take a little bit of a detour before we came to where we are, and it's totally fine that we did. Because to be completely and truthfully honest, like, she was working with other specialists and she was seeing them at the time. I have been working alongside her medical team to support her, and her GI doctor was like super not really concerned about, like, one, didn't want to run the GI map, said that she didn't do it. Of course, too, like, the GI map is not covered by most insurance. So that was like another thing. But she was also like, the doctor was very sure that she wasn't struggling from any sort of like inflammatory bowel disease. So we went forward with an antimicrobial protocol, which did help her. And she did notice an improvement in her symptoms, but ended up being too much for her to handle. And we ended up having to end the protocol. And this is when we were like, okay, there is really something else going on here. Like, we really need to push your GI doctor. Like, let's try to get a colonoscopy. Like, let's try to rule out some other things here. The GI doctor also did not want to do a colonoscopy back in May either, because she was so sure that this client was not struggling with an inflammatory bowel disease. Well, client was able to get the colonoscopy. And then after the colonoscopy, a few weeks later, was able to take a GI map test. She started working with an integrative doctor, and this was a person that totally 100% like spoke our language. And so it was really nice to have this doctor kind of like on our side with all the things. Well, what do you know? One, the colonoscopy did reveal that this client has a form of inflammatory bowel disease called microscopic colitis, which, fun fact, is actually triggered by having bacterial imbalance in the gut. Now, there was this situation in her life 8 years ago, again, triggering event, where she traveled outside of the US, ate food and drank water, and became violently sick and ended up in the hospital. And she reports that her gut health has never been the same since. And doctors have written off her symptoms and have been firm that that event was not a big deal and that her symptoms had nothing to do with that. However, I, of course, learned this and was like, I strongly beg to differ in this situation. So had the colonoscopy, diagnosed, got an official diagnosis from her doctor of microscopic colitis, also had an endoscopy, which confirmed H. pylori as well. Also had this GI MAP test, which revealed multiple different bacterial strains, viral or pathogenic strains that explain that kind of say like, hey, this is why we have this, response. Not only is the microscopic colitis associated with that diarrhea that she was experiencing, but also the different bacterial strains that she has colonizing in her gut are also contributing to that sensitivity to the histamine and likely are related to the onset of that in her gut. So again, and I should mention, so now it's a little over a month since she's had those tests. She's not only received medical support from her doctors, but it's also given us a little bit more clarity about what we can do nutritionally and supplementally to help continue to support her. And I believe I can proudly say that this client has not had painful, watery diarrhea, and her painful bloating has significantly improved to where she hasn't had either symptom in over 1 month. A client who was struggling with this all day, every day for over a year is finally getting relief. And so I hope that this story is helpful for those of you who are really struggling with your gut. I know that I know from firsthand experience, I know how embarrassing it is. I know how embarrassing it is. And it's also really embarrassing to I think the worst part for me, personally, and I see this with my clients too, because it is so hard to have something wrong with your gut and you not feel good and know that something's not good and know that you have to do things to minimize your symptoms. Sometimes we have to do a little bit of a temporary elimination diet to reduce inflammation and to really calm the fires of inflammation when our bodies are hurting. And when you're out socially with people and maybe you're eliminating gluten, or maybe you're eliminating dairy, or maybe that there's a specific trigger food that you're avoiding right now, or maybe you just don't want to eat a certain way, or maybe you don't want to eat at the restaurant that only has fried food because that it's not healthy for your body, and you're with people socially who just don't get that. And it's almost like a form of peer pressure, social pressure. And I personally remember how painful and challenging that was, how upset I used to get when I used to try to go out to be somewhat remotely freaking normal, amidst all these people who either were ignoring their own symptoms that obviously weren't normal, or that just didn't have symptoms at all and just could not relate to you, and honestly, I looking back say are very selfish, because realistically, does it really matter to them whether or not you have the fried calamari or not, or whatever the thing is? What is it to you to make somebody feel uncomfortable for what they're not actually wanting to eat? It has nothing to do with anything other than the fact that, hey, this food doesn't make me feel good and I'm avoiding it, or hey, I know that not having this or not eating this way is what is going to serve my body best. It's so hard being in that situation socially around people who don't understand that. And that's also another reason that I have to say, I have worked with people over the years, and I've talked to potential clients who have been afraid of stepping up into this container, when really it could be the most supportive thing and the one thing that changes everything for you. but people that are too afraid to actually make waves with their partners or their friends because they know that committing to this and committing to their health, is not something that's super, always super widely accepted, and they're worried about how it's going to impact their relationships. But when you come to work with me in my VIP program, again, this is a virtual office. This is a virtual practice. I have an open door policy. You are able to touch base with me and contact me at your convenience whenever you need it. And there have been clients that I've worked with over the years who I am literally one of their only supporting people in their life to help keep them going. I've worked with clients who have lived with partners who don't support their healing, and actually I've seen them try to sabotage them and actually make it so it's harder for them to succeed and to fail. And I've been that only strong figure person in their life, their rock, to actually help guide them and help them succeed. And so again, that's why, I am offering this GI MAP test for free for the next woman who signs up for my 6-month VIP, and that you're getting that additional month free when you do come into work with me, because I know personally firsthand how much it sucks. And I would have given anything. I think about I spent thousands of dollars on supplements, on other modes of therapy, colonics alone. There was a point during my SIBO journey where I couldn't go to the bathroom. I had to depend on laxative herbs, and then eventually those stopped working. I couldn't go to the bathroom. And when I went to the GI doctor, he handed me a prescription for Linzess, told me to use Miralax. I told him that it didn't work. A rushed appointment, follow-up to tell him this. He didn't even come into the office. He had his nurse practitioner come in, talk to me about my symptoms, and then he quickly, in another room, wrote a prescription for literally the same medication, just a generic version. I didn't even bother taking it. So I couldn't get I'm sure that there is probably somebody out there who would have been able to support me, but I had been so jaded by my experience that I knew I had to do this on my own. And so, a year into my healing journey, and I'm at this point where I've reduced the bloating, the bloating has gotten better. I had foods, I had a good list of foods that I knew that I could eat without pain. But I had gotten to the point where my bowels had gotten so weak from being backed up for so long and from depending on laxative herbs for so long that I needed to figure out a way to literally jumpstart my, it's called motility. It's this muscular movement that your intestines make to actually move things along. That's called peristalsis, the peristaltic movement or motility of the gut. And I had done some research, which basically was all I did during my own healing journey. I just spent hours on the internet looking for anything that I could possibly do to help move along my healing. And I came across, I can't remember exactly how I stumbled across it, but I came across colonics, and there was the closest one to me was at the time I was living in Connecticut, was in Stamford, Connecticut, which if anybody is familiar with the area, I don't know, the word traffic is the first thing that comes to mind when I think about it. It would take me over an hour to get there. I was going 2 to 3 times a week just so that I could move my bowels. And I did a full series. I want to say there was a month of time. We ramped up slowly. I started off doing one a week. And then I think during my second or third month, we did a full series, and it was 2 to 3 times a week for a month. And so I was going first thing in the morning because I didn't want to eat when I did this. I would go first thing in the morning, just had, drank a little bit of water, and then would go for the hour session and then hop back in the car and then drive up to Danbury to work, which was also a shit show to get there from Stanford. And then I would go about my work day. And I did this for so freaking long. Well, it was $120 a session. And ironically, I indirectly had known the woman who ran this practice. And because I was coming so often, she actually even gave me a little bit of a discount and only charged me $100 a session. God bless her. She was such an important part of my healing. I'm sad to say that she no longer practices and she's no longer even in the state, but she was such a key and critical person in my healing. I'm telling you, in addition to everything that I was doing with my food, the colonics are what really helped move me forward. But I can't even begin to tell you how much credit card debt I put myself in on top of all of the supplements that I was just trying. Again, I tried anything, any supplement, anything that I did research on that I thought could actually help address my symptoms. All the different probiotics, the digestive enzymes, the 5-HTP, anything I was willing to try. I was almost going to try coffee enemas, but I didn't have... I can't remember why I didn't actually end up trying it, but I heard that those were great too. I spent so much money on this, and I think now to the price of my container, the cost of my 6-month program is $2,800. You get your initial breakthrough call included in that. You're getting the free GI MAP test. You're getting a month free, so you're getting 7 months. You're doing a 6-month program plus 1 month free. On top of that, I literally wish that that's all I spent, because it was probably so much more than that. I probably spent in those 4.5 years trying to heal probably over $10,000 in everything, in all the things that I tried. Not to mention the amount of time that I invested in this. Things just could have been done so much faster. Yeah. So that's a little bit of my personal story. That's a story of one of my clients who is honestly, finally, and so deservingly seeing results. If it were up to me, it would have happened a lot faster for this client. But, as a nutritionist, I also have to act within my scope of practice, and I can help you advocate when you're in that office, when you're in that doctor's office. And, at this point, when my client, sat in front of her GI doctor and demanded a colonoscopy, and sat in front of that integrative doctor and demanded, the stool testing. Could not have been a more proud coach moment for me, because that's what we needed. We needed to be able to get her medical team on board with what we were pushing for, so that we could see the positive results. And so I hope that this client's success story, I hope that my success story, and I have others too. This story is not unique to my client. I work with at least 2 other clients who are struggling with diarrhea, and 1 other client who struggles with chronic constipation. So it's not uncommon. It can be healed. You can start feeling better. I know what it's like to be, every single day is a continuous hell loop. You're going through the same symptoms. I remember that if it was a morning that the laxatives didn't work, I was taking Cascara. So I was taking Cascara Sagrada. I think those were little capsules. And then I was also taking Senna, which was the tea, the Smooth Move tea, which you guys have probably seen, a traditional medicinals tea that you've probably seen at Stop and Shop or Hannaford or whatever, or Whole Foods. If they didn't work, because there were some days that they didn't work and I didn't go to the bathroom, it was a bad day. And those days happened more often than not. And if I had somebody telling me that within a couple of weeks, I would notice a positive improvement in my symptoms, and I knew that I could trust the protocol that they were giving me. They were doing the work to give me what I needed to do, the exact steps. I would have been like, take my freaking money. So again, I am offering this offer to one woman only. This is an offer that is going to expire at midnight tonight. If this offer is yours, comment below or DM me VIP to claim your spot, and it is yours, and we can get you started right away. I do accept Affirm. It's buy now, pay later, where you can set up no or low interest payments so that you can pay at your comfort. I know that this is a massive investment, and that money may actually be the one thing that is holding you back, but I don't want it to be the one thing that holds you back, because being somebody who's on the other side of it, I'm telling you that like the longer that you keep tolerating this, it's not worth the mental and physical wear and tear that's going to have on your body. Not to mention the fact that if there is something really serious going on, that it could manifest to something more serious down the road. And so I want to help you start addressing that and healing your body now. And that's why I've created this really special offer. So I'm going to go ahead and end this call. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I am really looking forward to you joining my 6-month VIP program. This is my sole purpose. I strongly believe that I was given SIBO. I experienced SIBO so that I could do this, so that I could discover what my true purpose in this world is. And this is what I was born to do. And so I really am truly looking forward to you joining this program. It would be my absolute pleasure. And I cannot wait to get to know you and to help you start feeling better as soon as possible. Thank you guys very much. I hope that you've had a lovely week and that you're all looking at such a fun weekend. And I can't wait to talk to you guys again soon. Take care.